Intertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
That is some funky music. Everybody, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the Intertalk Radio Network. Hey guys, it is a beautiful Friday. It is February the 10th, and it's cloudy in Southern California, but we're going to bring the stars and the sunshine out today because I got to be telling you guys, I'm proud and I'm privileged and I'm honored to bring my musical brother on today, man. A legacy guitarist, vocalist with the iconic funk group. Basically the soundtrack of our lives, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and also his tenure with 4 years with the Commodores. Again, Earth, Wind, and Fire, over 14 years. So we're going to chop it up today, man. We're going to talk about everything, and I want everybody to welcome with open arms and open ears to Jackie's Groove. Please welcome my musical brother, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds. Sheldon, welcome to Jackie's Groove.
Hey, how you doing?
Man, let me tell you, man, just talk about that song we just finished up with. What was the genesis of that tune?
That was actually myself and Ralph Johnson. We put that together, and we were just reacting to what we had seen when we were touring. You know, just watching people's lives go by and seeing the different, moments of what people were dealing with, and we just wrote about it. And said we got to do something better. This generation got to stand up, and try to do what we talk about in church every Sunday and actually do it.
Dig, man, because you guys nailed it. What you went after, you got it. Let me tell you. Hey, man, let everybody know that you were brought into this beautiful world by the Reynolds family on September the 13th of 1959 in Cincinnati, Ohio. You want to pick it up from there?
Well, that was it. Cincinnati, Ohio, home of a bunch of sports teams. I wish one of them would win something for us, so we can get back to the historic days.
Right.
But definitely came out of Cincinnati, played in a lot of bands, and growing up, and born at Christ Hospital. I don't know if you know a place called Union Station. That's where I stayed. I live right nearby that place.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this question, brother. How many other brothers and sisters are in the Reynolds family? And if you have them, are they musicians also?
Well, I have a brother named Dorian who lives in Hamilton. Not in the music business, but he's my youngest brother. Mm-hmm. And he's very cool. And, all I can say is I love him. He's my brother.
God bless, brother. God bless.
And every father knows this feeling when I say I got a daughter.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Right there in Cincinnati.
Sheldon, let me ask you a question. How old were you when you picked up your first guitar? And was the guitar the first thing you picked up instrumental-wise?
Actually, the first thing I played was drums.
Really?
That was when I started. And I was about, 6, somewhere in there, 6. And my mom was very supportive, but she, the drum thing was a little bit of a stretch.
Right.
So she kind of helped me decide I wanted a guitar. So,
And how old were you at the guitar?
I think I was 8 at that point. And so I just started playing guitar. And then I saw B.B. King and I saw Tito Jackson. I wanted to be both of them. So I wanted to be Jackson 6.
Right.
And,
what was pumping through the speakers at the Reynolds house? What was your influences at a young age? What were you listening to?
Oh, you name it. Aretha Franklin, Donny Hathaway, B.B., the real R&B stars of the day. Stevie Wonder. My favorite group was Sly and the Family Stone.
Absolutely.
And, eventually, Hendrix and all that whole era, Earth, Wind, Fire. You might have heard of them somewhere along the way.
Absolutely. And speaking of Earth, Wind, and Fire, excuse me if I've got a little bit of delay. In fact, got a really horrible connection with you for whatever reason. Paul, are you hearing him okay?
Oh.
There you go. Perfect.
All right.
Okay, so that's a much better connection there. Hey, so Sheldon, let me ask you a question. Playing the drums, playing guitar, and so on and so forth, and the musical influences, that basically shaped your musical career and so on. And again, I usually ask the question: if you weren't playing guitar, what would you be playing? Drums obviously was your first choice, but when you were playing in those situations in Cincinnati and the surrounding areas, do you remember what age you were or what timeline when you actually first started getting paid to play?
I was pretty much in late teens because I was the youngest of my main band that I was in, which is a band called Wild and Peaceful.
Okay.
And eventually a band called Blue Atmosphere. But I was the young buck, and they wouldn't let me hang out in the bar.
Right.
But they'd let me hang back in the back, and when it came time to play, they'd get me on stage, and I do my thing, and they put me back in the back so I wouldn't get them in trouble.
And that's where you cut your teeth, for the lack of a better word, right?
Yeah, that was it. And go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. So tell the listeners out there, and they are listening worldwide, and your fans, and so on. But let's delve a little bit deeper into Sheldon itself, and let's step away from the legacy of Earth, Wind, and Fire. And a lot of people don't realize, and a lot of people probably don't even remember the band Sun. I remember Sun, and that was probably one of your first professional notable gigs. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It was the second. My first was a guy named Wilbert Longmire, who was a very great jazz guitar player. He's still back there in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And he was on CBS under Bob James, Captain Z label. And I got the gig of him, and then eventually Sun came after that.
Yeah, I just remember Sun. Sun was such a huge, again, a number of members. They always had that pull of the sound of tower horns and so on. Mm-hmm. And I just remember that song growing up. That song called "We're Here, Sun is Here," and and the band I used to play with years ago, Nice and Easy. We opened up for Sun and Tower of Power at a club in Los Angeles called the International Club, and I was blown away. And I don't know if you at that time this would have been 1978. So I don't know if that was your era that you were with them, but that's the time that we played with them.
I came after that. I came in about 80, 81.
Cool.
So I missed it. I was trying to hook up with you, but I missed you. I got there too late.
You know what, though, man? But down the line, we're all brothers in music, so we got to do what we got to do. And tell the listeners out there, when you and where were you when you got the call for the Commodores?
Oh my goodness! I had literally come back to Cincinnati from being on tour with Sun, and was back in a band. The Sun had disbanded at that point, and I was in a band that played on area called Fountain Square, downtown Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
We were playing in a little bitty club that was about the size of a kitchen. And literally, I was packing the car to go to the gig, and was grabbing my last piece of instrument, to put in the car, and the phone rang at my mom's house. And I was the only one there, and it was the manager for the Commodores on the phone who I had recently met, and he was like, look, guy we have, we fired him, and we want to know if you want, to do the gig. And I was like flabbergasted. I was like, what? The Commodores? And he said, yeah, of course. You just met us, and we got your tapes, and we want you to play. And so I was so green that I said yes, but then I said, I don't have no way to get to Los Angeles, and he just started laughing. He said, oh my God, it was a hire. He said, we'll pay for your flight, just get to the airport. And
so how was there a major audition? Did you know a lot of the music going into to the Commodores?
Yeah, at that point, that was stuff we played in clubs, so I may not have known all the intricacies that they had actually played, but we knew our versions of them. And was Lionel working with him at that time, or he already passed? He had already left. What was interesting is the day I got to rehearsal, which was the very next day, I went from playing that little club to being on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood the next day, at rehearsal. And it was like a shock. And in that building we were in, which was a giant rehearsal hall called SIR, we were on one side and Lionel was on the other side. So it was like, okay, there's a little tension here.
Yeah, no doubt. It's just, you think about that because, I have my history with Earth, Wind & Fire. I auditioned for them back in 1995, and it was at Center Staging and in L.A., and I got to tell you, there was 4 players that were brought in throughout the U.S., 4 percussionists, and I was one of the 4, and I got to tell you, Sheldon, it was awe-inspiring for the lack of, because I was the last one to go in there, and the 3 other gentlemen that were there were David Romero, Ronnie Gutierrez, and Chalo Eduardo. These are 3 guys that are Latin stars, Latin percussionists, and where I was the chameleon. And, they're playing with Earth, Wind & Fire. At that time, Sonny Emery was on the drum throne. And I was blown away because they were just playing Latin music. They were playing salsa. They were playing cumbia. So when they called me in, Philip had his camera up, and he said, look at the camera and state your name. Of course, I was nervous because when they opened the door, there was basically the Earth, Wind & Fire album cover staring at my face. And everybody was there except for Maurice, but Verdine was there, and the gang. And so they said, Jackie, what do you want to play? And I said, you know what, man, let's play Shining Star. So, the infamous guitar lick in the beginning of it, and I put my hand up and I said, and they said they broke down. They said, what's going on? I said, you know what? I got to tell you, I can't tell you how many top 40 bands I played this song with, man. And I'm a little bit blown out of the water now because I'm playing it with the band that wrote it. And unfortunately, I did play 5 or 6 songs that afternoon with them, Fantasy and the like. But unfortunately, I didn't get the gig. But hey, that's part of history. It was a great thing. They always say you'd be part of the Earth, Wind & Fire family. And, and then that's where it started and that's where it stopped for me. So, but to sit there and have that opportunity to play with Earth, Wind & Fire was beyond me. So now, and let's step back now. So you're back with the Commodores, and you're out there, and they're already known for the songs like Easy, obviously, and Brick House, and so on. Was it a situation where you found yourself that you had to pinch yourself that this was actually going on, that you were on stage with the Commodores?
I missed the last just there.
I said, did you have to pinch yourself to realize the fact that you were actually on stage with the Commodores?
Oh, yeah. I did that all the time because even after being there for many years, there was moments where we may have these mega concerts, and suddenly, you look around and you go, wow, this ain't fake. I'm here.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, and it seems like every band has their... Yeah, and every band has their song that if you don't play it, the audience would lynch you. And one would assume the fact that Was Brick House the closing number when you would play with the Commodores 9 times out of 10?
Oh yeah, that was the closer, and we literally had I remember one funny story. It was sad, but it was funny in the sense we had an audition for a drummer to play, and this drummer came in and he was unbelievably good. He was, just funky, and all the chops were there, and the personality. He was unbelievable. But he could not get He could not get it. I mean, he would play almost, just about, and sort of. And eventually they had to let him go. I mean, they were going to hire him because everything else he did was immaculate. But he could not play that opening lick. I don't know if it was nerves or what, but
probably. And Sheldon, when you were working with the Commodores, were they big venues always, or what was the capacity of the crowds that you guys were playing for at that time?
It was a combination because they were still riding high off of the songs. So
right,
there was a lot of theaters that was starting to happen, but most of it was still the outdoor and Summerfest and all that kind of stuff. They were still doing a lot of that stuff. And we were doing a lot of overseas, which they were still really, drawing a big crowd in a lot of places.
That's very cool, man. And it's the overall view of the Commodores. I mean, that whole vibe of the outfits and so on when they first started out, and then what they materialized into with songs like Night Shift, which we're going to get back more into that. Where right now that red light is flashing. So, Sheldon, we're coming out of the first segment, going into segment number 2. And we're going to pick up where we left off because I want to know more about it, man. I want to know that feeling when you got the call, and everybody else wants to know how that feeling came around when you got the call from Earth, Wind, and Fire, and how it had to blow blow your mind. And then I want to talk about, as we get going on there also too, songs that one of my favorite songs by you written called Sunday Morning, one of my favorite tunes of all Earth, Wind, and Fire. So we're going to get back to that, and then I want you to think about something that maybe you want to talk about or share with the audience, man. I know you and I have something very, very much in common, and that's a situation called health. So we're going to talk about that also and inspire people out there. So with that said, Sheldon, don't go anywhere. This is Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove on the Talk Radio Network. The music's coming up in the background. We'll get back on segment number 2, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Sheldon Reynolds.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome back. This is Jackie Bertoni. You're tuned into Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the almighty Intertalk Radio Network. Hey guys, do yourselves a favor and do us a favor also, if you'd be so kind. Download our easy-to-use and easy-to-navigate application on iTunes and or Google Play for your Android. 2 words. First one, Intertalk. Second is radio. And take Jackie's Groove and our network on the go when you can't listen live. So do us that favor. And also, too, I wanted to say hello and a big shout-out to our sponsors that keep this crazy ship afloat. And those would be our dear friends over at Pitbull Audio, Calvin Lee and the gang at pitbullaudio.com, where they just want you to play it loud. Another one of our great sponsors is SIR. Sheldon mentioned it in the last episode. SIR Studio Instrument Rentals, and it's SIR-USA.com for all of your backline and rehearsal studio needs. And also, too, I want to say hello to all of our dear friends and my new sponsor at Blue Microphones. Guys, bluemic.com. Please check them out also. And to my drumstick company of choice for the past 22 years, Vater Percussion, V-A-T-E-R, Percussion. And they've been lacing me with the sticks. And our dear friends at DW Drum Workshop Incorporated. And our dear friends over at LP Music, same company, Don Lombardi, John Good, Derek Zimmerman, Jerry Zacharias, and Derek Lepia. We appreciate your support with us all the way around. And you get them at lpmusic.com. Whew. That's a long-winded situation, but someone's got to pay the bills one way or the other. Sheldon, welcome back to segment number 2. You know, we left off, Mr. Reynolds. We talked about one of my favorite songs called Sunday Morning. Great song from Earth, Wind & Fire. That actually garnered you a Grammy nomination. Tell the listeners what you felt when you found out that was brought up for the Grammy.
I was, like you say, pinching myself again because I just couldn't believe it. I mean, it was like, you know, the guys had lived that many times over, so they were used to it. But I was sitting there going, really? I mean, to be recognized by your peers, you know,
right.
There's a certain sort of, you know, humbleness that comes from that.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And, you know, like I say it again, too, even though you didn't win it, the biggest thing is to be recognized and to be nominated. So that is something that goes down on your list of things that you've accomplished. And the other awards, like the Image Awards, how did you feel when you got brought that to light?
It's funny you say that because it's like that was the award show. My mom was actually present, and she was sitting right in front of us when we went up to take it. And I just remember my mom was sitting there, and Whitney Houston was sitting 2 seats over from her, and I was just kind of sort of taken back, thinking, you know, this is what a lot of our forefathers and stuff never got to see,
right?
You know, and it was just a thing called, you know, thank you for letting me be involved in something that is sort of positive in people's lives.
Right.
You know, that's you know, was more than just me. It was a sense that somehow we touched some people's lives. I mean, people ask me many times, what was the most amazing moment for me in Earth, Wind & Fire? And it was really when a young boy came up to me and called me by name. And I said, how do you know me? And he said, man, my mom took me to my first concert, and it was Earth, Wind & Fire, and I played guitar because of you. and I almost broke out in tears because I affected this young boy's life. That meant more than meeting the president and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, man, it's called being humble, man. I mean, it's the fact that you've touched so many people out there. You've inspired so many great players out there, young and old, and so on. And so through all the inspirations that you delivered to the people, who inspired Sheldon Reynolds growing up and even today?
Oh, if you speak of music, there's so many. I mean, George Benson is one of my favorite guitar players on the planet.
Right.
And Jimi Hendrix, quietly enough, Sly Stone, I used to love to hear him play some of the stuff he did him and his brother Freddie would play together.
Right.
And then, of course, Al McKay is like the rhythm god. And, the most nervous I ever had been on stage with Earth, Wind & Fire was the night that Al McKay was sitting in the front row.
Yeah, no doubt, man. We had just talked about Al McKay, too. We were talking about Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffett. We're talking about that whole vibe of Al McKay and, being that strong left-handed songwriter, guitarist. And and he's out there killing it to this day and all over Europe with the Al McKay All-Stars. And if you guys get a chance, check them out also. And and with that said, now you're on stage with Earth, Wind & Fire, and Al McKay is sitting in front of you. I'm going to assume at that time Mr. Maurice White, God rest his soul, was running around next to you also. The man who basically wrote the songs of the soundtracks of our lives. Right. And I want to step back for 1 second. We talked about the Commodores and so on, but where were you when you got the call for Earth, Wind & Fire audition that they wanted you on the guitar throne?
Oh, it's a interesting story. I was literally, I got to know Maurice by getting on a bus, RTD bus, going across town from where I was living to the complex where he used to own. And I met his sister. I just went for it. I went and met his sister, who was running the office there, and she introduced me to Verdine. And then I left my tapes and bio and all that stuff. And a few days later, where I was staying, the guy's phone was cut off because he tended to disappear and didn't pay his bills. And he was one of the singers with the Commodores. And he disappeared. So the phone was off. So instinctively, I went to call my mom from a payphone. When I got it on the phone, she was screaming, "You need to call this number because somebody that I even know is on the call here looking for you." And I said, "Who?" And she said, "Maurice White." And I just went silent. I was like, I forgot that I had put my mom's number on the tape.
Crazy.
And then I called him from a phone booth, literally the first time I ever spoke to him in the phone booth. And we got together and we started, working on some different projects he was doing. And one night he called and he said, "Look, man, the door's open if you wanted to play with Earth, Wind & Fire." He said, "I'm putting the band back together." And I was like, okay. Somebody pinch me again because I can't believe this. God is so good.
But you got to understand too, brother, because your talent brought you to the the limelight. Again, I use the term all the time: God is great, God is good. But the fact is, you're there, man, because you can play. You can play your ass off. On top of playing, you can sing, not S-I-N-G, but S-A-N-G. And you've proven that over and over again. And I'm going to jump ahead of us because I want the listeners out there, if you get a chance, one of my favorite programs was a thing called By Request. It was, I don't remember the network that was on, Bravo or A&E?
Yeah, A&E.
And just that vibe of that show, again, once again, another music show that's fallen by the wayside. We need more live music. But just that chance to see you and being spotlighted and so on, when you were with Earth, Wind & Fire, did that wardrobe that you taunted, was that something of your choice? Was that something that Mr. White chose, or was it pretty much open-ended?
It was like open-ended. And it was, you know, he approved of things because if we didn't look right, which he would quickly just step in and say, no, you're not going to say look with me, look at that. So, you know, it was open-ended to a certain degree.
Was Maurice the type of a leader that gave you, obviously you're on stage because you earned that, but was he that in-depth with the organization? Did he have his thumb down on all the players? Or did he have the trust in the players that you guys were going to play it like the record was recorded? Share with us.
Well, he was adventurous. He wanted to capture the magic of the record, and he would definitely we had to, you know, come close to what was really played. But he liked to be a little bit, not so tied down to the record that we couldn't be creative, because there was the record and then there was the show, and he was a show band person, so he wanted to make sure we put on a show that was extraordinary. So we would stretch it. We'd go further than the record in a certain degree, whether it was something about the arrangement that we do different, or just the tempo. The tempo meant the world to him as far as like feeling that energy, And a lot of times we might start out like the record, but we may end up somewhere else, And that would be, you hear Sonny back in the back. Here we go.
I mean, I was going to Earth, Wind, and Fire shows at the Forum here in L.A. when it was not just it was like, well, you got to remember the fact, too, that David Copperfield, the great magician, is the one that lent his talents to Earth, Wind, and Fire stage. And for those who are too young to remember, I mean, you'd be out there and you'd be watching Earth, Wind, and Fire concert with these massive pyramids on these huge stages, before stages like they were today and today's modern music world. I mean, they're productions, but back then it was like a Hollywood soundstage, and where the band, each member would be up on a pyramid, and there'd be backtrack music playing, and the next thing you know, there'd be fire and brimstone, and next thing you know, the band is all in front of the stage, all along by having the music, killing it. Songs like Fantasy, In the Stone, and all these great, great tunes. So now you get the call with Earth, Wind, and Fire. You go to your first audition. Let me rephrase that. You go to your first rehearsal. Tell the listeners what that was like, man, to sit there and actually be playing with the world's greatest R&B band.
Well, I got to tell you, the chemistry between myself, Sonny, Verdun, and Vance Taylor, who came in first, and then, of course, Morris Pleasure. It was such a chemistry between us that it was almost like we were just coming home. It wasn't like just starstruck as much as it was coming home. I had been working with Maurice for about a year at that point, so I was a little bit over starstruck, but once he started singing Shining Star and all that, it all came back. Having those moments of working with him and Philip and Verdun and Ralph, it was really like coming home. So I think we kind of fell in there right away, but we didn't feel intimidated by it.
Was Larry Dunn working with you at that time, or he had already gone through the band?
I wish. I ended up working with Larry later, as you know, but I wish he had been there when we were there. That was sort of the glue that I always felt was missing.
You dig?
When I met Larry, actually, I was at his house, and I whispered to Ralph, "Why can't this cat be in the band?" And he heard me, and he was like, he said, "Oh, that's a true fan right there." And I said, "Yeah, man, I want to play with you."
Do you still have a relationship? I'm sorry. Do you still have a relationship with Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Oh yeah. I mean, those guys. I mean, families go through all kinds of ups and downs, but
absolutely,
it's like it's a family. I mean, there's a how do you call it? There's a sort of like an alumni that has been through being part of the fire, and all of us are in that zone of, like, you know, thanking God for what we were part of, and, you know, just feeling blessed to have done it and all that. So
yeah, man. Because you think about that. I mean, all of the new Earth, Wind, and Fire, if you will. You got Philip Bailey's son is singing now with the band. My dear friend John Paris is on the drum throne. And for those of you who haven't had the chance to see Earth, Wind, and Fire, they may be picking it up a few more shows this year with Chicago. And that was amazing. And speaking of Chicago, what did you record with Chicago? Think back for a second, Sheldon.
I can't remember the name of the song, but it was a song that they did many years ago. We recorded it when they were working with Peter Wolf, the producer. Because I had been working with him on some Pointer Sisters projects we did. And one day called me and he said, he was a very animated guy. He always called me up and said, Sheldon, I need you today. If you can make it, come by quickly. And I said, what's going on? He said, I got a session for you, and it's someone you want to play with. I said, okay, who is it? He said, Chicago. Yeah. And it was like, I hung up the phone and drove him about 80 miles an hour to get to his house.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, it's funny because I had just started working with a group called, I'm sure you know the group called Tower of Power. And I was working with them from, I think it was about 1980, excuse me. And I was in L.A., just finished a rehearsal. And I was meeting some friends of mine at the Playboy Club in Century City. Yeah. Wow. And around the corner is walking this gentleman with a huge afro, wearing a one-piece jumpsuit, zipped all the way down to his belly button, and it was Maurice White. And I got to tell you, I stopped in my tracks. I mean, I was just driving up, and I was listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and then all of a sudden, around the corner comes Maurice. Let me just tell you something. Probably the most coddling, sweetest man ever. You know, to see that, you know, and, you know, that was my 6 degrees of separation. Never had the opportunity to work with him. Sad that it is. In fact, you put up a great photo on one of your pages on Facebook and so on. It was a picture of probably one of the last times that you saw Maurice when you guys were walking out. But you know what? We're going to pick that up on the next segment right now because I want to talk to you about that. So we're coming out of segment number 2, going into segment number 3. And I want to talk about that situation with Maurice and your feelings about Earth, Wind, and Fire. So you guys don't go anywhere. Jackie for Tony, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio Network, coming out of 2, going into 3 with my in-studio guest, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
That's the voice of my in-studio guest, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds. Hey, guys, welcome back.
Hey.
This is Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network. Sheldon, what was the genesis of that tune? Share with us.
Oh, man, that was just like I was working with a guy named Derek Clark, who's a phenomenal producer and keyboard player out of Seattle. And we were just trying to write a wedding song. I mean, that's really all we were trying to do. And I was trying to write it for Philip to sing. And it never happened, but we love that song. God, we love that song.
It's beautiful, man. You know, and we talked on the break here for a second. I always want to make sure I get the permission. I don't like to do any back interviews or pre-interviews, but I also want to make sure that I'm not stepping out of line. For those of you out there, and they know who people worldwide know Jackie Bertoni, I was diagnosed back in 1996 with a central nervous disease called multiple sclerosis. Now, I've led a perfectly, I don't want to say a normal life, but, you know, you don't have to have an MS, you know, or any other disease to be miserable. I have a lot of friends out there and a lot of associates that are perfectly healthy but miserable people. And but you know, with that, yeah, and you know, and with that said, when you know this all came about, it was a growing experience, man. It was a learning experience, and you know, and as we go and as we mature in life, you know, it's these conversations no longer about, you know, the time on the road, this, that, and the other. It's all about, hey, man, how's your prostate, and or how you feeling all the way around this, that, and the other. Myself, I've been knocked for a loop because I'm just right now still recovering from spinal surgery, and it feels so great to be back in the studio. But unfortunately, with the surgery, it flared up my multiple sclerosis, and that's what's been keeping me down, for the lack of a better word. And you know, and I talked to Sheldon afterwards. For those of you who don't know, Sheldon, between 5 and 6 years ago, was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And I hate the word disease, but the word is dis-ease. Your body is not right. And Sheldon put up an amazing video probably about five months ago on Facebook talking about this supplement company by the name of Golden Sunrise Pharmaceuticals out of Porterville, California, owned, and the president being Hugh, and the vice president Martin, and Dr. Barnett, everybody else that's been involved with this company. And when you watch this video, and please search it, it's pretty amazing. In fact, my mouth had dropped because with Parkinson's, I have a few friends that have Parkinson's. The weirdest thing about the situation is, you know, how close to home it hit for you, Sheldon. I mean, we lost Maurice White through complications of Parkinson's. I was talking about the last photograph I saw that you posted on Facebook where Maurice is walking with the bag and he's coming out of his Maserati. I think you wrote it was like the last time that you got a chance to write with him. And I mean, and what is the coincidence, of anything, that two members of the same band would be diagnosed with Parkinson's? And, you know, and not to commandeer the situation, but Sheldon shared with everybody these 3, or at the time, 2 supplements that he was taking that was greatly improving his health. And that is also going for a dear friend of ours, mutual friend, Mike Picaro from Toto, God rest his soul, God rest his heart. We lost him to ALS. And so with that said, and, you know, you're talking about the aha moments. Well, there's nothing more aha moments about life-changing situations. Share with the people, Sheldon. I'm going to step back. I'm going to let you tell everybody what's going on with your life and how your life has progressed and what led you, to get more aggressive?
Well, I mean, one thing, Maurice and I used to joke about it, and sometimes because it was like, so strange that two guys in the same band have such a rare disease that, you don't see it on every block,
Right.
And I used to say, man, it must be them laser lights and smoke bombs you were setting off. They got us. So it was that kind of, spirit we shared about that a lot.
Right.
And but the Golden Pharmaceuticals, I mean, they have been a blessing because, I mean, I take the conventional medicine for Parkinson's, and I mean, there are days when it's good and there are days when it's frustrating, without a doubt. But I've had a chance to go around the world for maybe 5 times, and I don't see my life as something to complain about. I just can't see that I should be complaining. It's rough sometimes. There are days when I don't feel like being anywhere but in a corner. But in reality, all it takes is for me to remember what I have been able to be part of. Mm-hmm. And it's not just music, but it's inspiring people. Like the kid I told you that plays guitar because of me. That gives my life some meaning. And there are days when it's rough for my wife, and she's seeing one particular guy, and then a different guy is shaking or unbalanced or whatever, and that it takes a lot of patience. And my hat's off to her as well as a lot of people who are in a similar situation. But
I remember when I called you, and we talked on the phone with regards, and I just remember, and this was just so prominent to me. You had said, well, Jackie, as I'm standing here in my studio, the operative word is the word standing. And I remember you told me, you said, because with Parkinson's, your brain wants you to stand still, but your left leg wants to move to the right and vice versa, backwards and forwards. And you said, but the thing is, we were talking for about 20 minutes and you never sat down. And so, literally about 3 weeks later, Martin and Hugh came to my studio, my home, and they gave me these 2 supplements, one called Emustam, the other one called Activate. And the taste is kind of horrible, but that it is what it is. But I immediately felt a major response from these. In fact, I just took my last one called Neuro, which helps with the strength. Yeah, man. Let me just tell you, I was making the joke, and I said Sheldon had told me the worst thing about this supplements is it tastes like ass, and I was cracking up because Martin said that's giving ass a bad name, and but you know what? It's a hard supplement to swallow, but you get used to it. I say it tastes like WD-40 and licorice, but it works. It works. And so with that said, this has helped you pick up the guitar again. It helped you with your beautiful voice again. How are you right now? Today as we speak, how much playing are you doing?
Well, I'm actually preparing to do a whole lot. I'm still sort of teaching more at home and recording because I'm trying to put together a project for Japan, actually, a solo record. So I've been working on that, but I've got a bunch of gigs lined up with a group called Kalimba.
Yes.
And we can talk about that. That's
please.
For sure. We're out there this spring and summer. We're actually playing here in LA the 5th of March. And we're at a place called Bilbo's, I think it's called. I think it's a brand new place. But how
big of a band?
They basically look like Earth, Wind & Fire because they do a tribute to Earth, Wind & Fire. It's about 10 of them on stage, and they bring me out as a special guest to do some songs with them, and we have a great time. And it's just a celebration of what our heroes did. I mean, when we see Al and Verdine and Philip and Maurice and Ralph and my favorite guy, Larry, I mean, it's like these guys changed our lives, and that's what we're celebrating. Just all the work they did.
And the Now, what songs are you singing with Kalimba when you bring him out as a special guest?
We change around a lot, but definitely September, and sometimes After the Love Is Gone, and Devotion, and oh goodness, Shining Star. We'll do all the main ones, and we'll even do Evil, and Sunday morning. Sometimes we'll just play around with it, just have fun.
That's so cool. Now, let me ask you this naive question: when's the last time have you had the opportunity to join Earth, Wind, and Fire since your departure?
It's been a while now. I was in Seattle when they played Seattle one time. I was there, and that's goodness, that's been 8-9 years ago or something like that. And we got at the end of the show, I got up on the Next Way of the World, and we had a ball.
It's like homeschool 101 to come back to the boys, right?
Oh yeah.
So so I'm looking over your bio that Jesse sent, your manager, and I was I don't know use the word shock, but I didn't know you had musical relationships with J-Lo, and the like itself. What did you actually do with Miss Lopez and the other people that I read about on Wikipedia?
Well, I don't know about J-Lo. That's something that somebody put in that I didn't do.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Might have been a misprint. The only time I've ever met J-Lo was literally at a TV show that I was there, and I stepped into a room that was empty, and she came walking in, and I about fainted.
Well, somebody saw it.
Yeah. I never actually worked with her. I would, if I could, I would, I'd be honored, but I never got that chance. Yeah.
Well, then tell the audience about, your work with Stephanie Mills and Paula Abdul.
Paula Abdul I did a tour of Japan with Paula, and she was a sweetheart. And she was I've known her ever since I've been out here, but she was a sweetheart. And we went to Japan, we did like the Jay Leno show. And, Stephanie Mills was actually, I was doing a show for Mickey Howard, and Stephanie was on the show as a guest. So I did a lot of shows like that where I was part of the main orchestra, and we played for everybody. So there's a list of people I haven't even included, but that show was actually Mickey Howard's show we were doing.
When you think about it, of all the different genres of music that you played or are playing, is there a particular type of music today, 2017, that you find yourself more, more heading towards, more favorable?
Well, I don't know if it's heading towards or reminiscing, but I absolutely love to play Sly and the Family Stone. That's like my favorite thing. And
is that funk?
I always feel like that's sort of the segue to what became Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was, Sly Stone sort of, I remember being at, might have been the same place you were at in Century City, and playing with the band when they had that sort of monthly celebration of, music. And I was singing "Thank You for letting me be myself." And I looked down, and Sly Stone was 2 rows back.
Crazy. And
I almost choked, but he kind of waved and smiled. And I kept going, and I never got to meet him, but he was really cool that night.
I'm so thankful he got his just due and his money that he had coming to him. And
right.
Enough people ripping off music and music ripping off the people, the artist itself, which is it's disgusting. But that is the word music and the word business should not share the same sentence, in my personal opinion. And let me ask you a question about this, and give me your opinion. Do you understand today's music? Do you get it?
Mm-hmm. I talk to my son about that a lot because he's a producer and drum major from Southern University, and he has an understanding of both old and new. And I understand it. I don't always agree with it, but I do understand it. because, I mean, the kids are coming from their own expression because that's all they were taught.
Right.
What we played was what we were taught. What the generation before us played was what they were taught. So
exactly.
You can't blame them. They're only reflecting what they were given a chance to learn. You know, I wish they could, you know, put more relating chords together, but, you know, a lot of times that's not what they were shown.
Well, let me ask you this question. You growing up in the industry and being such a prominent figure in the industry, did your son get what Dad was doing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, his favorite genre was singing, so he was told on his first concert he came to see me with Earth, Wind & Fire. He saw Sonny, and he became a drum major basically based on that inspiration. And
that's wild.
That was, you know, I mean, my daughter actually she sings like a bird, but she's sort of afraid to sing in front of people, but she sings like a bird. So she's a wonderful, I call her the doctor of the family, because she's basically a dermatologist assistant, but she's really the one that's kind of running the show.
Beautiful. You know, and Sheldon, let me ask you this question. When you were with Earth, Wind, and Fire, say that 5 times fast, what was there a song that you loved to sing the most? But I want you to think about that, because we're going to come out of segment number 3 into segment number 4, and I'm curious about that because every artist had a song they loved to play, and a song if they never played it again, they were happy also. So I just kind of want to delve into that a little bit more and find out if there was that situation. And then I wanted to find out, and I'm sure the listeners want to find out too, what did it take back then for you to get ready for a show, as opposed to what it takes now for you to get back and ready for a show in the studio singing back then and in the studio singing today, and dealing with the situation of on the days you feel like you want to work and the days you don't feel like you want to work. And let's talk about that also. So with that said, everybody, I can't believe we're already going through the first hour of a 2-hour interview with the legendary and iconic guitarist, vocalist with Earth, Wind & Fire, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds. So if you guys have any other questions, please hit us up online. We'll answer the best we can. Again, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network. We'll be right back out of 3 into 4 with Sheldon Reynolds. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Intertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome back. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio Network. Hey, guys, I'm back in the studio right now with my in-studio guest, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds. Sheldon, I hear you back there. Who's bothering you, man?
Oh, I'm just, my wife just came in, so I'm going to know I'm on the radio.
You got it. Hey, we left off the last segment, but I got to ask you a question. Who was that we were listening to on the Bumpin' Music?
That was Brian Culbertson. The song he and I wrote that we just love. We had a ball putting that together.
Yeah, man, that's one funky boy. Let me tell you. In fact, his current tour is called Funk.
Mm-hmm. That's him. That's his true spirit.
Yeah, man. I mean, the boy not only is an amazing keyboardist, but a crazy trombonist also, man. So, it's nice to have multi-layers. When we left off segment number 3, I'd asked you a question, and I always ask this question because I'm amazed by the response. But let's go back for a second here. Let's step it back, even back with the Commodores on songs that you loved to play the most with the Commodores. What song was that you couldn't wait to play live on stage?
With the Commodores, you're saying?
Yeah.
Interesting enough, it was the song Sail On Down the Line. I used to love to play that.
Oh.
And Too Hot to Trot.
Yeah, man. That guitar lick on Too Hot to Trot was just infectious already. And so I can imagine just the beginning of that had to be great.
Mm-hmm. That was it. That was the one.
What about a song that you could care less about playing with the Commodores?
I don't know. I liked most of their songs, so I didn't have. There was nothing that I didn't actually like playing.
Fair enough.
But there was a couple that weren't my favorite, but
right.
They had such, they were such great songs that we couldn't do nothing but respect them.
And then let's move forward here to Earth, Wind, and Fire. Same question. Songs that you couldn't wait to play?
September, because I was born in September.
Just something about that song itself, yeah.
Yeah, September was probably the first one that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness, Shining Star. There was one that we didn't play a lot of, but we did play it, Kalimba, where Maurice would take the on the Kalimba. Mm-hmm. I used to love the guitar part of that. And Mighty Mighty.
Yeah, it's definitely too. In fact, I think Philip Bailey is now playing the kalimba on stage on that song. And it's as a percussionist, very difficult instrument to play, and but it's very cool when it's accepted and it's brought to the forefront and the limelight by Earth, Wind, and Fire. They're the ones that are responsible for that whole vibe. And and let me ask you this question, my friend: with all the people that you've met in your lifetime, even to this current date, but working with Earth, Wind, and Fire and so on, who was the most prominent and most famous person that you met?
Oh, that's a long list. I mean, Michael Jackson, a couple of presidents, Stevie Wonder, Quincy Jones. Oh gosh, I mean, there was so many. As many people came out to see us, and they would be sometimes, I kept in the back where they wouldn't disrupt the audience or whatever, and they would stay on the side or hide somewhere in the arena. And even when we were touring without Maurice would show up sometimes and be hiding in the building.
Crazy. And then, of course, when daddies are around, then everybody's got to be on their best, on their best behavior for the lack of. Hey, and then go ahead.
No, I said he wouldn't let us know he was coming, though. He would just be there.
And with that saying, talk about we all have a bucket list and so on. At this point in time of your life, does Sheldon have a bucket list? Is there someone that you are really, really wanting to play with that you haven't played with as of yet? And if that is, who is that? Tell us.
Quincy Jones.
Right. Q.
For the sake of him being one of my most respected producers, I would love to, if he's listening, please call me for at least one song.
Q, if you're listening, man, definitely call this man up, because I'm not getting any younger. In fact, I just was a little upsetting. I had the opportunity back in July to interview Mr. Al Jarreau, and I was a fan of his. And then Al released a statement yesterday that he's retiring from the music business at the age of 76 years old. Yeah, man, he's done. It's not funny, he said, anymore. In fact, his son said, "Dad's doing much better." He walked in the hospital room and Dad was singing "Moonlighting" to one of the nurses, which is a beautiful thing. But, again, all having health issues. Al referred to his situation was he was suffering from mutiny on the body. And, we all are, and so they decided through the advice of doctors to cancel all of his 2017 remaining dates. And so, Mr. Jarreau, we love you, brothers. Best of health. Thank you for everything that you've done for us over our lifetime, the music. So, and if you want to come back to the business, the doors are open. We're here with open arms. So, with that said, okay, so Q, you wanting to work with Q, it's still, there's always that possibility, man. So never say never, or never, watch what you wish for. And that's the word we're going to put out there. And, you mentioned the fact about hanging out before the show and so on. Tell the listeners, again, we talked about this before we went on last break. As opposed to being a young man, as opposed to being our current age, what did you do back then in the day to get yourself ready for a show with Earth, Wind & Fire? What did you do prior to the show?
We used to do a little follow Verdine's yoga teaching. We would do some. He's a very good yoga, expert.
Right.
And he would have us doing certain stretches and, movements backstage that would kind of like get your body sort of in the act, in the vibe of performing. And that was always really cool. And so I would say that was the first thing. And then even still, as we speak today, I would recommend for singers, warming up a little bit before you go on, because once you get out, on stage, your projection is going to be based on your readiness, and definitely would recommend people to take time to warm up,
right,
and mentally the show becomes your whole world for that hour and a half. You just don't worry about all the other things in life for a minute. Just deal with what you're doing right here and right now. Because people that come to see you are looking to get away, for lack of a better term, get away.
Absolutely.
And they're looking to be caught up in the magic that you're bringing them from, forgetting about all their personal problems in life, and they need you to do the same. So you can, so it'll all be just one happy, hour and a half.
The big thing nowadays in shows is you can pay extra money for a meet and greet with the band and so on. Step back for a second here. Was Sheldon the type of person, other than family and close friends, was Sheldon the type of person that wanted to see people before the show, or waited till after the show to do the schmoozing and so on?
if I had a preference, it was after.
Right.
Because a lot of times I'm the person who likes to hang out with people, and I get to hanging out to the point where I'm wore out before I go on stage. So doesn't work out. So I prefer to be caught up in the show itself, and sort of I used to be very much like a quiet in the corner person before a show.
Right, likewise.
And once we come off, then president time, as I call it.
I think that's fair enough. And let me ask you this question also too: how about eating? Are you a person that eats before a show? I ask that because I'm a person that doesn't eat before the show.
Not too close to it. If I do, it's light, just to keep away the hunger pain.
Yeah,
but we always had like 2 hours before the show, and but I couldn't eat 30 minutes before the show. I could not eat a heavy meal. That was just,
right.
Too much drag at that point.
Especially as a singer, also. And speaking of singing and so on, Sheldon, how's your voice today? Is it nice and powerful? Is it back to where it was?
I haven't noticed any problems at all. I mean, there are times when I have to take a little longer to warm up, but
right.
I think some of that is just due to I'm not performing as much as I was performing back then, because we were doing 100 shows a year. So
right.
I'm not doing nearly that now. I may be doing half that now with Kalimba coming up in this year, but when you're working all the time, you just have a natural strength that's going to be there.
I got to tell you, looking on the Facebook a couple weeks ago, it was so refreshing to see. I missed it the first time in 27 years. I wasn't able to attend the NAMM show because of my recovery, but it was so great seeing you, man, walking around and so on. How did you feel with the those days that you spent at the NAMM show? Oh, excuse me, the NAMM show, because it is quite overpowering.
Yeah, it was wonderful in the sense of, like I call it the yearly family reunion, but I was kind of having a hard time walking around all that time. So it was a little tough at certain points, but my goal was to go and just kind of say hello to everybody and get a chance to just kind of bond with the people I've been my peers for all these years.
Right.
And I missed it last year because I was literally, in recovery from having some surgery that previous year. So I wanted to make sure I made it this year and got a chance to hang out.
Well, 2018, I'm coming for you, man, because it was upsetting not to be able to go this year, and especially with this, everything Facebook Live, seeing everybody else and giving the shout outs from my friends saying, hey, man, it's not the same without you. But again, it's the part about recovery, and it's the part about looking to the future, man, not worrying about what happened in the past. And with that said, working with Earth, Wind & Fire, working with the band itself, I didn't know what their full touring schedule was, as opposed to like a group Chicago, who just celebrated 50 years. And my former group, Tower of Power, which is celebrating 50 years next year. On that situation, I know for a fact that Chicago, for 50 years straight, never missed a tour per year. And you just mentioned a little while ago, Earth, Wind & Fire, they were only doing about 100 shows a year. Is that what it was?
Well, we did more. I'm just saying it was at least 100 shows a year.
Yeah, because, as we get older, we're talking about the situation where at our age, we should be wanting to play music, not having to play music. The fact is, it's tough out there because the industry has changed, and it's I don't think it's evolving, and with that said, I mean, what are your feelings about the industry? Are you optimistic or are you pessimistic about the industry and where it's heading or where it's headed?
Well, I think everything goes a circle. So I have a belief that if we give it time, it'll eventually, in some form, not return, because we don't want to go backwards, but we want to go forward with certain key elements to come with us. And I think in the circle of things, it'll come around again with some sort of resemblance of what you and I may have seen in the past, of tied in with what's current and, be worth, saying that's pretty cool. And, I mean, at the very moment, if you just took it as if it was a standstill, it can be a little bit disheartening because some of the things that are said in records and, the attitudes that come across can be, like disrespectful to women and all that stuff, and I don't agree with that. But we definitely, I believe it'll come around again because the audience will demand for something to change. And
I agree.
You can't just keep.
I agree.
You can't keep doing the same thing no matter what it is, whether it's good or bad. You got to change it up sometime.
And I always, my mantra's always been for the longest time, 3 words: stop stealing music, people. I mean, just stop stealing it. We're not doing this for our health. We've got mortgages we got to pay. We've got food to put on the table. So, and the young bucks that are coming into the industry, they haven't really earned their wings, per se. They, going on YouTube and becoming a star without busting your ass or getting your ass kicked, I don't think that prepares you as an entertainer for longevity. What are your feelings on that? Do you agree?
Yeah, you gotta go through something to be something. So I mean, that's just life. We had certain experiences growing up that they don't have today. I mean, I wish I had computers and all that stuff, back when I was a kid. I mean, but in a sense, I'm kind of glad I didn't because it forced me to do a different thing that's still with me. And that is a certain spirit that comes from people who had to be imaginative and, remember it themselves and not have to depend on a computer to always play it back perfect.
You dig?
And
when I get back to that, I want to pick up that because we're going out of. Can't believe this is blown by like this. This is segment number 4, going into 5 with Sheldon Reynolds. Sheldon, I want to talk to you more about the production values of the lack thereof and how we did things back in the day and how things are going on today. So with that said, put your thinking cap on because I want to go back into talking about the days of yesteryear with the 2-inch tapes, stuff that we lack nowadays. So with that said, you guys don't go anywhere. We're coming out of segment number 4 into segment number 5 out of a 2-hour show with my in-studio guest, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds from Earth, Wind & Fire. So you guys don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome back. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the Talk Radio Network. Segment number 5, guys. We're rolling into 5. 2 more and we're done. But, man, there's so much more to find out regarding my in-studio guest, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds from Earth, Wind & Fire. Sheldon, we left off on the last segment. Something I wanted to talk about because, as you say, we are getting older. Things have changed. I mean, I'm probably one of the culprits because I have a home studio, which I absolutely love. It works out cuts down on travel time, makes them a little bit more money because the labels aren't having to hire for the people to do what I'm doing on myself. But there is something to be said about that because I was talking to Lenny Castro last year, and we miss the smell and the sound of a 2-inch reel on the Ampex recorder. That sound of that that rewind. I'll be the first one to say, man, I screwed up on a couple songs just because I wanted to hear that, and so with that said, when was the last time you were in a large studio?
Oh, goodness. Actually a few months ago, but it was not so much to record in the studio as much as we were doing a video that was being recorded in the studio. But before that, I couldn't even tell you. I remember being in a studio about a year ago, doing some work with some guys. That's the last time. And before that, it would have been Brian Culbertson when we had the big punk record. We had everybody together.
Well, think back for a second. When you were with Earth, Wind & Fire, when you went in to do your overdubs, let's start with guitars. How much of the music was completed when Sheldon plugged into a DI and played guitar?
I mean, it was a lot there because I like to play with mostly everything there, so I know what I'm going to actually use and not use. And Maurice used to have me play, 2 separate parts that would, one would be my thought and where I came from, and the other would be him saying, okay, now give me a counter to that.
Right.
And I have a conversation between the guitars, and he would, pan one to the left and one to the right, and then I would just play as if I was, being Al and Johnny, back and forth.
And then after the guitars were down and so on, and they were happy and they gave you the thumbs up, what was the process of laying the vocals down? It's so prominent in Earth, Wind & Fire's music. Did you guys all use the atypical one mic and you guys were around harmonizing, or did everybody have their own single parts?
We tended to do one mic and everybody gathered around. Generally, it was me, Philip, and Maurice. And interesting enough, we had to stagger where we stood because I had the little soft voice, and Philip was louder than me, so he had to stand back a little bit. And Maurice was louder than both of us, so he had to stand back further. And we find that sweet spot, and we basically held it, at that point.
What were the on the song Sunday Morning we talked about before, the one you were nominated for? What was the instrumentation? Did you? I was going to pull it up here on the computer, but who was doing the lead vocals on Sunday morning?
That's Maurice.
That is Maurice doing that.
Yeah,
and,
on the original version. The second version that I put out with my tribute was me singing.
And did you feel that? And again, you can answer this yes or no, truthfully or not. When Maurice left the band, and he left the band years ago, before health issues, did you feel there was a huge void when Maurice left?
Oh yeah, I mean, he was if he wasn't the visionary, he was still the inspiration of the vision, and he was sort of what gave Earth, Wind and Fire that sort of how do I say, sort of stand out from the rest kind of presence, and he definitely inspired the band to reach out further than where you would expect it to go. Within the realm of so-called pop music or whatever, they were challenging those lines, saying you can't do that. It's like, yeah, we can. Watch.
Right. Let me ask you this question. On top of that, well, I mean, this may be an unfair question, but maybe a logical question. If Maurice was here with us today, would he appreciate what's going on with Earth, Wind and Fire?
Oh, he'd have to answer that one, but
okay, fair enough.
He'd always be challenging us to go further than where we are. So there was never a thing called just accepting anything. He tended to push us to reach out further at all times.
How much backtracking did recording did Earth, Wind and Fire use on stage when you were working with them, or did you guys handle that? Majority of that all yourselves to beef up that sound?
We did. We ended up doing most ourselves anyway, but we tried a few times when I was there to do certain things with the computers and all that. And some things we still did, but Maurice, he hated it. So he would turn around and turn it off, tell him turn it off. Let's go. Because a lot of times he may feel inhibited because he may want to change things up in the middle of the show, and couldn't do that at the clock. And,
let me just ask this: I mean, with being such a huge prominent band, so many members on stage, if you think back for a second, what was one of the most challenging songs vocally that you guys had to reproduce on stage as you did on the album that really made you guys think that you had to stop where you were to make sure the vocals were on point? Remember what song that was?
There's a few of them, but I would say Fantasy, because it had a lot of words to it and a lot of melody we had to sing there, and
right.
That needed some attention a lot of times.
And with all of that music on stage, let's step back in your shoes for a second. Let's talk about the mix on stage. What did Sheldon have or request to be in your mix?
Pretty much a little bit of everything. I kind of like to feel like I had the headphones on, and just I'm back home when I was growing up playing with Earth, Wind and Fire in my headphones, and I'm dialing myself into the mix, where I'm in the band and not above the band, but just enough that I can hear myself good, but just like part of the band. And I tend to like to have that same thing where my monitors were, and eventually when we had to hear the in-ears and stuff like that.
Right. And speaking of that, do you prefer in-ears, or are you like me, the old school, and love a wedge, the ambiance of a wedge on stage?
I'm half and half. I love the sound, but I can't dig that. I can't hear the audience. And even though they would try to put special mics up and dial the audience into the headset,
right?
I always tended to snatch one off.
Was there anything in the mix that you didn't want to hear?
Say it again.
So was there anything on your mix that you didn't want to hear?
Didn't want to hear, you say?
Yeah.
Oh, probably, I can't say didn't want to hear, but I could hear them good without being in my mix with the horns.
Right.
I could always hear the horns, so I didn't need them in the mix as much.
I asked that just because as a percussionist, You know, I don't want to hear drums, you know, and or not much because I already have them next to me. But I want to make sure I can hear myself. That's the most important thing, is I don't want to find myself playing louder than I have to or overplaying because I can hear myself. You know, and that was something that you always prayed if you weren't traveling with your own sound guys, that you had that camaraderie and that friendship with the house people. Because I don't care how great of a player you are, if the audience can't hear you, then you're play syncing. You know, it's all irrelevant.
I tended to want to make sure I heard drums, bass, and keyboards, because I follow the keyboard player very closely. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I'm picking, you know, single note patterns or whatever, and they're reacting to his chords a lot, you know. And in the drums, I was sort of being, you know, 1 minute I'm Al McKay, 1 minute I'm Johnny Graham, and next thing I'm Morris White, background Philip Bailey. I'm like wearing a lot of hats at that time.
You know, and let me ask you a question. This on the aesthetics of the band, you're up there and you're playing, and you're not singing lead vocals, and you're not going through a guitar solo. Where would we find Sheldon? Were you told anywhere to be on that stage, or you just kind of laid back where you felt was necessary?
We had a certain zones we just sort of naturally fell in, but there's nobody telling you to be here or be there too much. And there was choreography, so a lot of times there were structures, but a lot of times we would kind of, you know, just keep it lively. That was the whole thing. You know,
I just remember, like on the Japan tour, that's when the first time I ever saw the female dancers on stage, and that was something new that was visually nice to hear. But I just didn't care for it, you know, to after a while, because I want to see the players up there. I want to see the players messing it up, you know, and that's that whole vibe that I always liked. But you know, that's me as a musician, as a listener, and so on. And with that said, I want to find out, is there a certain country, a certain state that you really found yourself levitating to that you couldn't wait to get back to? Is there anywhere in the world that's your favorite?
Concert-wise, the one that I always remember that we first thought we were really doing something was we played in Paris. And it was at the place called Bercy. And there were like 20,000 people there, and it was like a Beatlemania when they came on stage. They had to run off the stage and go back to the dressing room while they cleared the stage of the people who had climbed up on the stage.
Really?
That was before we even started playing. We literally were in the midst of the opening with the, you know, pre-tape going and all the visual stuff that was happening. And I had to stop it because they were climbing over the wall and everything. It was crazy.
Yeah, and that's a good part that you brought that up, because I always want to find out too. I always ask my cronies in the industry in my interviews: is there a certain tour or something that actually funny that happened that you can share with the audience right now that just makes you laugh to this day?
This is my favorite, Maurice. When we came here to L.A. on the first tour we did, Maurice had pulled out all the stops. We had the lasers, we had the planets, we had the pyramids, we had everything in the world that we could put on that stage to make this thing go crazy. And he was going to basically fly down to the front of the stage where he would meet the rest of us at the front of the stage. And it would look like he was flying over the drums and landing like Peter Pan or an angel or whatever. And he literally flew all the way. On the first show, we had 2 shows. He flew over the whole band, landed right at got near almost where he was almost landing at the front. But the harness thing that was controlling him, which was being controlled by some guys behind the stage, went out of whack. It went out of whack, and he started going sideways instead of forward. and we were standing there. We had people behind us in the audience, in the orchestra pit. You know, there was Michael Jackson, there was Duke, there was all these peers, and Quincy Jones sitting there. Everybody that we looked up to was sitting there, and we're all cracking up. So suddenly they can't get him to come straight to us, you know.
Right.
And we literally had to kind of step up as as unnoticed as we could and grab him sort of by the leg and pull him forward. So we finally landed.
Again, you mentioned a second ago, but how did you guys not show Hysterics on stage at that time?
Oh yeah, we just had our back to the audience, so we were facing the band, so we could.
Oh dear God!
We could.
And what did Maurice say after he landed safely? Do you remember?
He basically took the flying trapeziac was closed. So,
first and last.
Yeah, he was. That was the last time he flew, so it was grounded after that part. The next day he walked down. So,
safety in numbers, I understand. And I just mentioned the fact about loving Paris. Was there a certain country at all that you love for a certain type of food that you couldn't wait to get to?
That's a toss-up between a few places. Italy always had great food.
Of course.
I spent most of my time overseas in Japan, so I was used to sort of ordering certain things, which was ebi gohan, which is shrimp and rice. And in Italy, the tagliatelle with salmon was my favorite thing.
Very cool.
And, those are my favorites of that thing. I can't think of anywhere else, but there's a lot of places I love to go. So,
did you like to travel?
I love it. My life is in pictures. I have become a photographer by nature, and I do a lot of astrophotography, and gotten off into that area of life as well. And it's just an appreciation of God's creation that I'm looking at, not so much science, but just the sheer wonder of what we're coming from. And I used to take pictures all over the place, so I love traveling. Nowadays, it's, of course, with all the danger, you don't want to go anywhere as much as you used to, but still, the world's a beautiful place. Some of the people in it can be kind of disheartening, but the world's beautiful.
Absolutely. And with that said, my brother, we're gonna trail off of 5. We're gonna go into the last segment. So I want to find out. I want to let the audience know everything about Sheldon, how to get a hold of you, promotion, and your sponsors, and so on. So when we come back on this break, I'm going to bring on my partner, the CEO of the network. He's got a couple questions also, and we're going to go from there. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're coming out of segment number 5 into segment number 6. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio Network, with my in-studio guest, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds. Stay tuned. One more to go.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Definitely my favorite song of all times with Earth, Wind & Fire. A song penned by my in-studio guest, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds, and a song called Sunday Morning from Earth, Wind & Fire. Hey, guys, it's Jackie Bertoni. Anytime, man. This is Jackie Bertoni. Remember me? From Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio Network. Hey, Sheldon, you know what, man? We all have a right-hand person other than our wives. People that are there to help us. Your girl, Jessie, handles everything for you to make sure that you're in line and everything is making sense. And I just got to tell you, I'm thankful because our bumper music that you hear coming in to our the intro and outros is actually myself on percussion, Florentino Buenaventura on bass, the CEO, and our COO, Paul, who you spoke to earlier, on guitar. And then on vocals, on the voiceover, is my dear friend Talaya Trigueros from 94.7 The Wave, and also the voice of the Academy Awards, the Grammys, and the Golden Globe. So got a lot of people putting it together, but I got to tell you, man, I'm going to bring on right now, if I can, he's actually traveling right now, but I want to bring on our CEO, Florentino Buenaventura, to say hi to Sheldon Reynolds. Bueno, are you there?
Hey, what's going on, Sheldon? Mr. Jackie Bertoni. What's going on, guys?
Welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm over here in L.A., and we're about ready to do a remote, and so I'm here with one of our other team members, and we're having some fun with the guy who wrote the song "Killing Me Softly."
All right. Well, good luck with everything.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. And you know what? It's so interesting how life is. We know some mutual folks. I come from Northern California, so John Paris is a longtime friend. Eddie M. and of course. God rest his soul, Robert Brookins. So I don't know if your times crossed when those players were there, but I've known Robert since I was a kid, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I've worked with all of them, so we've had time together. And Robert was a great talent, really great talent,
amazing talent. And then Bobby G, were you there when Bobby was with the band for a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was there. That was just before I left.
Yeah, so Bobby and I go back to kindergarten, man. So it's really kind of a small world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went to school like the whole time together, and you get to know people, and you start to learn more about their talents and everything. And at this segment, we really want people to have ways to discover more about Sheldon, and some of the physical battles that you're doing right now. Obviously, the new music that you'll be putting out, and the music that you've done in the past. So, can you share with us some of your URLs, like your social media, your website, and all that fun stuff?
Man, I'm sort of like in between all that, and I tend to mess up. So I basically say hello to me on Facebook, and I'll direct you where you need to go. But I basically let people know when they hit me up on Facebook.
Facebook's like the new yellow pages, right? New white pages.
Yeah, exactly. I had my own page for a while, and it went down, and the company went out of business or something. And I never got it back up so far, but definitely hit me on Facebook or at the Golden Sunrise Pharmaceutical thing. Find out a lot of information there about how to get some help from those people, because they're doing some great things.
Absolutely.
And for sure, that would be great.
Perfect.
My manager, his name is Jesse Moore. Jesse Moore. hit him up on Facebook as well.
Beautiful.
Very, very cool. Very cool. And, I've been in and out of the interviews trying to conduct business, drive, and a few other different things. I know I was hearing that you're working on new material. When can I personally expect to hear some of this amazing new music, man? Because I'm looking forward to it.
Ironically, I just got some news today. We're trying to figure out when. And we're still trying to figure out the when, but it should be relatively soon because a lot of the stuff I already have in the can, and it's just a matter of remixing or mastering. And I will definitely let people know, but I mean, look for the album will be called It Is Love. And that song is the title of the last song I wrote with Maurice. So
wow.
It'll definitely be something, to touch the heart.
Well, I pledge you this, Intertalk Radio and obviously Jackie's Groove. We're just going to support you 110% on your new project. When you're ready and you get it out, we'll help you promote it. We're doing some things like that right now with Al Di Meola. We're supporting him on his 40th anniversary tour that he's on right now over the East Coast and in the South, and we've done that with him and Tono. And so we our whole goal with the network is to ensure that the generations to come will know people who are making the music, who have inspired the music, who like when you're talking about some of these young folks like your son and the others, they're not knowing the players who rode because they're so bombarded by so many other different things. And our whole goal is to make sure that there's a legacy for them to and to learn and to keep music alive.
Thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome, brother. You're welcome. So, hey, Jackie, I'm going to pass Sheldon back to you, man. Continue on with this amazing interview, and I know everyone listening is enjoying it as much as I am, if not more.
Drive safe, brother, and we'll talk later on this afternoon when you get home.
Sounds good, brother. All right.
So with that said, Sheldon, I'm going to ask you a question, brother, and I want you to enlighten us itself because we're all thankful. We get to a certain point in our level in our life where, we bust our ass as young guys, to get the coolest guitar, the coolest, amps and so on and so forth. But then when we finally have become a thumbprint in the industry, percussion, guitar, vocal-wise, and so on, then these big manufacturers, they come to us to use our likeness and our names, and forever thankful. Like I said, I'm with LP for 27 years, Vader Drumsticks for 22 years, and Sabian Cymbals, I'm going on also 24 years. So with that said, who is taking care of Sheldon Reynolds? Let's talk about your guitars. Let's talk about your in-ear monitors. Let's talk about everybody that takes care of you. Want to give them a shout-out?
Oh, my goodness. I would say I used to be with everybody, but now I'm pretty much on my own. I've actually just met some people at the NAMM show who I'm going to announce some relationship as soon as we get everything worked out.
Cool.
But this guy named Phil Jones, who makes some amps that I've been using for several years that are really, really cool. And the people at IK Media who do a whole bunch of, recording, virtual, everything. They have been like an extended family to me for many years at this point. And I say hello to Star, and who sort of keeps us all in line and make sure we, get what we need and get it right. So, for sure, I will let people know what's going on. But there's some stuff in the works with Kalimba that we're working on now to become part of the family for several companies. And we'll announce it really.
And for a lot of the young players out here, I'm looking at some of the messages. What are your strings? Are you playing Markley? Are you playing Diodario? What do you prefer?
Markley. I prefer Markley. I have been there for a long time, so I still prefer them. And
microphone-wise, your choice?
I have a microphone from a company called Marshall. That is it looks like an old sort of classic
like
microphone,
RCA style, right?
But it's sounds really, really, really wonderful. And then I have one of their old mics, which literally I bought it back in the day, and I bought it maybe 10 years ago or more, and I got it for like $200. This thing sounds like it was made for the, for just, the perfect sound. You don't need to do anything but just put a limiter on it just to make sure you don't peak or whatever, and that's it.
That's enough, man. I mean, that's, we got to, again, fortunately or unfortunately, when you're on top of the game, everybody wants to be around you. Then when you start to lay back a little while, then it seems like, the endorsements go away, because the endorsements of today are not the endorsements when you and I first started out. And it's not about trying to get free rig. It's just trying about getting that respect and your name out there, and as I want to tell the listeners out there regarding Mr. Sheldon Reynolds, again, go to Facebook and search his name. Go on to Google, search his name. Look at some of the all of the amazing stuff that he's accomplished in his lifetime. Go on to YouTube. Type it in, man. Educate yourself of how the music should be played and was played. And, damn it, if I had my choice, the way music will be played, live instruments, and that's what it is. Like I said, again, I agree with Sheldon. It's all going to come in a circle. And everything, again, a lot of the bad stuff I wanted to drop off, but the good stuff, look at this old guys such as Journey and Styx, Tower of Power, Chicago, Earth, Wind, and Fire, that are still killing it, not just doing small clubs, but doing arena-sized shows, because that's where the music's all about, man. And, and we're very thankful for our network and everything we do to promote. We knew it was going to be successful, but we had no idea how successful it would be. And it's successful because of my in-studio guest, as I have on today, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds. Sheldon, anything you want to tell the young listeners out there of what to do to cement themselves, let the roots grow from under their feet, and how to stay relevant in this industry? Any suggestions at all that you want to share with them?
Well, my wife always reminds me to think outside the box. That's one of the things she says a lot. And I recommend that, keep yourself, constantly sort of reinventing, because what may be working for you now may not work in 20 years. It may be something a little bit different. And it's a real challenge, because we're in an era where it's hard to pinpoint what to do every time. Every time there's a change. I've been an avid person who loves to look at, the universe and study all that kind of thing. I was able to be a keynote speaker at the Arecibo Telescope, which is the largest one in the world. And I was there to celebrate their 50th year, and ended up being a keynote speaker at the event. That was probably my favorite thing I've ever done, because it was so far out of what I'm used to. Right. And talking to all these scientists and people who are, Nobel Peace Prize winners for discovering some black holes or nebula or something crazy in space. And I ended up talking to them about how big a fan I was of them, which is what the only thing I could tell them. Because like anything else, they'd be looking at me like, "What are you talking about?"
And that's so cool that you're stepping out of your wheelhouse, because I have my cousin Robert Gendler, who is a radiologist, but he also is a world famous photography of the universe, and his name is Rob Gendler, Gendler, and he's got a lot of coffee table books and some of the most amazing photographs of this place called the universe and the world that surrounds us. So that's where I can relate to where it's at. It's mind blowing. I mean, you stop and think about it. I'm into science, man. It's that the evolution of what's going on. And speaking of evolution, I truly hope that I'm not just pissing up a rope or blindly going in with a willy-nilly dreams, that we will come back to record stores. I miss our record stores. I miss Virgin Records. I miss Tower Records. I miss Tuesday Release. I miss rifling through the bins, the smell of vinyl, the smell of CDs, and looking at the releases that I played on. No one needs to know about that when I'm looking at them. But it's just that vibe, man. It's bringing music back, keeping music alive. I always say this also, especially for your son and your daughter who's afraid to sing in public. But the fact is, guys, we have to support local music. It starts somewhere. To have an ending, you have to have a beginning. And, and that's it. And teach the youngins out there, let them discover what they want to play on their own. Don't force an instrument down your child's voice. Let them go to a music store, let an instrument call them out, and then nurture that situation. Don't be afraid of the music business and drugs and all the other bullshit that they put out there. You know what? It is a situation where we've got to get music back in the schools. We've got to keep, we're not going to get political here by any stretch of the imagination, but we have to push that, getting music back in the schools and keeping music prevalent and also relevant. So, with that said, and that's my soapbox. And I'm just real proud, Sheldon, that, we both are facing our health issues, but my mom always said, and I'll repeat her, if it's not health related, it's all bullshit. And it is, man, because you can be the wealthiest people in the world, but you cannot buy health. And
amen.
Amen.
A friend said to me one time, he said, why is kept Michael Jackson left here as broke as any one of us.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs sat there. Yeah, and he was sitting in a hospital bed. Said, it doesn't matter. You can have $1 billion in the bank, but as I sit here and my body is shutting down, you're no different. So do it for today. Right. Don't put off tomorrow what is available today, and make it happen, man. Just be happy. Be happy that we have music, like with my in-studio guest, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds, September, Shining Star, Fantasy. The list goes down the line. Commodores. Check them out, man. Support Sheldon Reynolds. Support everything that we're doing as musicians for the better and the greater good. Check out GoldenSunrisePharmaceuticals.com and everything they've done for people who are ailing with cancer, multiple sclerosis, ALS, and Parkinson's. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for supporting Jackie's Groove and Intertalk Radio Network. Thank you to my team, Florentino, Paul, and Megan, and Alex, for keeping us all online. And most importantly, I want to thank my in-studio guest, iconic and legendary guitarist, vocalist, singer-songwriter, I'll just be redundant on that, Mr. Sheldon Reynolds from Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Commodores. Sheldon, God bless you, man. Godspeed. Best of health to you and yours. And thank you for being part of this crazy thing called Jackie's Groove. So with that said, people, we love you, Sheldon.
It's an honor, and I appreciate you giving me the time. Thank you.
Godspeed, my brother. Love you. Best of health.
Ditto.
God bless, guys. Peace through music. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio Network. Peace.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.